So what if you only had $30 to spend on groceries for the month? You had $30 worth of food stamps and that is all you had. And you had to buy food to last for a month. And I'm talking for just one person. What would you buy and what would you make? Well, let's take a look at it. I must admit, when my friend told me she had an allotment of $30 worth of food stamps for the month, I had all kind of ideas on what she should buy, how she should spend it, and how or what she could do with it. I was pretty smart until I actually tried to walk that walk. So I set myself the challenge of just spending $30 for the month and trying to see what I could get for that $30 and how many meals that I could get off of it, because keeping in mind this was all the money I had to spend on food for the month, so these meals were going to have to stretch. So I thought about what I could make, so I gave myself a list of recipes that I thought I could make, and then I made a list of things that I thought I could buy for that $30. And then I went online using the Walmart app and started putting things in the shopping cart. So I first checked to see how much different things were and then putting them in the shopping cart so I could see about how much it was going to cost, so that when I actually went to the store to make purchases, I know how much I had to spend. So one of the first things that I had on the list that I wanted to get was a rotisserie chicken, simply because I knew that I could make at least 4 meals out of that rotisserie chicken. I did think about getting a raw chicken. However, the raw chickens cost a couple dollars more than the rotisserie chicken. The rotisserie chicken was $5.97 and it's already cooked. The raw chicken was almost $8, and even though it weighed a lot more than the rotisserie chicken, I felt it was a better bargain to get the rotisserie chicken, so I got the rotisserie chicken. I also picked up a pound of ground beef, and the ground beef was $4.87 a pound. Now I was hoping that when I actually got to the store, some things would prove to be a little bit cheaper, and they were, but not much. Things that I like to cook with include carrots, so I got this pound of carrots for $1. I got this bag of celery, and the celery was $2.18. When I originally made this food plan, celery was $2.18. When I went today, it was $1.88, so I did save a little bit there. I also needed a package of frozen mixed vegetables, so I got these. And I wanted to buy 3 to 5 pounds of potatoes, but I couldn't afford those with my $30 budget. So what I ended up getting was the Southern style hash brown. So these are like little potatoes that are cut up into little squares. And I plan to make a chicken stew as well as a chicken pot pie. And I can use these little cubes of potatoes in the chicken stew and in the chicken pot pie. And the potatoes were about $2.87, something like that, but it was a good bargain for what I needed. I also got a bag of long grain rice. When I originally made my list, it was $1.88, but I realized that was for a 2-pound bag. I only needed a 1-pound bag, so it was less than $1 for the rice. I could only afford 1 onion. Onions were about $1.19 a pound, so this 1 onion cost me about 84 cents. They didn't have any green peppers in the store. And online it said they would cost 68 cents each, but they didn't have any in the store. But I did have some growing out back, so I did pull this green pepper out of my garden. However, if I had purchased it, it would have been 68 cents. Picked up a box of spaghetti that was $1. Picked up a bag of pinto beans, and I think these pinto beans were $1 as well. And then I was going to get a jar of pasta sauce, but all of the jars of pasta sauce were about $1.77 and higher. When I made this list online, it said there was some pasta sauce, great value for $1.52 in a jar. Couldn't find it anywhere in the store. So I got this can of Hunt's pasta sauce with roasted garlic and onion. And it's maybe a few ounces less. I think the pasta sauce in the jar might have been like maybe a quart or almost a quart. This is 24 ounces, and it was $1.44, I believe. $1.34, so I got that. And then the Great Value cans of corn and black beans were 66 cents each. And then also the diced tomatoes were 66 cents as well. The half gallon of milk was $1.54, and then this half dozen eggs was also $1.54. So these are the things that I got, and it came up to about $28.52. So I had about $1.48 left, but I was already in checkout and I wasn't going to go back to try to pick up anything else. This video is brought to you by Aprondiva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. Now let's talk about what I didn't get. I didn't get any bread, I didn't get any flour, I didn't get any sugar, butter, cheese, and no snacks, nothing like that. And I didn't get any because there wasn't enough money left over. I couldn't even get any apples. Well, I suppose I could have gotten one apple, maybe two, depending upon the size. I might have been able to get a fresh tomato, or maybe 1 or 2 bananas, but I couldn't really do much with that $1.48 that was left over. Now, like I said, if I had gone back, I might have been able to figure that out, but they weren't on the list initially. So there's no fresh fruit there. And then as far as, like I said, no butter, no bread, no cornmeal, no flour. So I realized that it's really important to shop your shelves. And I knew that I had on my shelves some flour, sugar, cornmeal. I had some butter in my fridge. And I also had a jug of oil in my pantry so that I can make some things with that. So I didn't buy bread because I can make some cornbread muffins or some biscuits to go with the meals that I have planned. I thought about making a nice little apple crisp, but since I wasn't able to get any apples, that didn't happen. So what am I going to make with these items? Well, one of the first things I put on the list was chili. And I love chili with ground beef, or you can make a chili that doesn't have any meat in it. So I thought I would take the ground beef, divide it into thirds, and I can make some chili with it one day. I can make some spaghetti another day, and maybe a taco bowl another day, or whatever else I wanted. Oh no, I know what I'm going to do. I was going to make a shepherd's pie. And so I would use 1/3 to 1/2 of the ground beef in the shepherd's pie. And then the spaghetti could be a vegan spaghetti, or the chili could be a vegan chili. I was also going to make a chicken pot pie, so I'm going to divide the chicken into 4 parts and then make a chicken pot pie with one of those. I could do chicken and dumplings with another set of it. I could make chicken and noodle soup, and then also a chicken stew. So that would take care of the different pieces of chicken. And each of those dishes, again, serves anywhere from 4 to 6. Granted, the meat in it is going to be quite small, but that's where we are. I also thought I would make a pot of beans, so that's why I got the pinto beans. I'd make a pot of beans with cornbread, and maybe we'd have some other canned vegetables to go along with that. I'd have a taco bowl that I would use with rice on the bottom, and then layer that with black beans, some corn, some tomatoes, that kind of thing, and then the shepherd's pie. And of course, I put down, we could either have a vegan dinner of sauteed vegetables and corn muffins. And I had hoped to make a potato corn chowder, but when I wasn't able to get the potatoes like I thought, I had to take that off the list. So, like I said, I was pretty smug about what I could do with that $30 until I actually tried it. Here's my rotisserie chicken, and when I looked it up online, it was $5.97, almost $6. But sometimes when you get to the store and you actually look in the meat case or look in the deli, some things are marked down. And in fact, this chicken was marked down to $4.50. So I picked it up, instead of the fresher ones that were like almost $6. And I'm going to take the skin off of it, take the meat off of it, shred it up, and then divide the meat into 4 parts because I plan to make 4 recipes with this chicken. Now, what are the recipes I plan to make? Well, I have chicken pot pie, chicken and dumplings, chicken noodle soup, and chicken stew. But I think instead of chicken noodle soup, I'd rather have chicken tortilla soup. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is like you've got this nice little backbone through there. And when I was a girl, my mom always ate the chicken backs. We thought she ate the chicken backs because she liked chicken backs. When I became an adult, I realized she ate the chicken backs because she was leaving more meat for the rest of us. There were 6 kids and, you know, her and my dad. So 8 people off of 1 chicken. So she always ate the back. So what I will do with these backs is I will take the backs out and I will put them aside and I will make some chicken broth with those. So I can use the chicken backs either to flavor one of the bean dishes that I plan to make. We'll see. I'm gonna get my husband's fillet knife out just to cut a little bit of the backbone out. So I've got it divided into 4 parts. So it's about a little over a cup. And I'm going to put these in a baggie. And I'll put 3 of the parts in the freezer. And I'm just putting the date and what's in it. Because you know, you put stuff in the freezer and you think you're going to remember what it is and you don't. So I'll get these in the freezer. This is the section that I'm going to use today. And I'm going to make some chicken broth with this part. So I'm going to put the bones and some of the skin in this pot. Now this might be cheating a little, but I have some carrot shavings and some onion peelings in the freezer. Some that I've saved before. Because since I could only buy 1 onion, and then these peppers were starting to get a little soft, so these are things that I've been saving, trying to be a good steward of my resources. So I'm going to let this boil for a while. I'll put a lid on it. So I went outside and I cut some thyme, and I'll drop that in. And I also have some parsley. And I would encourage all my homemakers to grow some fresh herbs, because that would give them just a little bit of relief on their grocery bill. And then I'll put in some bay leaves. And then here's some peppercorns. Not going to add any salt because I'm going to be putting salt in the soup. So now we'll just let that come to a boil. So the broth is just about done, so I thought I'd go ahead and cut up this onion. I'm just using a portion of the onion since I could only purchase one. And then I've also got this pepper that I grew myself, so I'll use that. The recipe calls for jalapeno, which I don't do spicy, but this banana pepper is relatively sweet, so it ought to add just a little bit of flavor. I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable oil so I can saute my veggie. These onions are starting to smell a bit aromatic, and they're just getting a bit translucent. So I'm going to add in my peppers. And I'm going to add a little garlic powder. I also got some green pepper flakes. I think I'll add a few of those. That'll give it just a little bit of spice without making it hot. When I cut the chicken up, I noticed it was just a little bit red in some spots. So I want to go ahead and saute the chicken in here with the veggies. And the recipe calls for a teaspoon of chili powder and a teaspoon of cumin. So I'm going to let those spices bloom just a bit. And I put this spice on that chicken because I wanted it to soak in. Now I'm going to add a drained can of corn, rinsed and drained black beans, and the can of tomatoes. I'm going to rinse that can to get everything out of it. Now I'm going to give this all a good stir. And you can see already this pot of chicken tortilla soup is going to be huge. So I'm going to be able to freeze part of it. So it serves 6. So I'll be able to get several dinners and several lunches out of this. The recipe calls for a teaspoon of salt, but I'm cutting that in half. I'm going to add in my cilantro. And there's just a little over a cup of chicken in here. But the black beans do add some protein, and the corn and bean combination makes it quite hearty. Now we're going to strain our chicken broth. Now let's add the chicken broth to our soup. This made us just about 6 cups of broth. So I've added about 4 or 5. of this broth in the fridge. And it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to get this soup plated up, and then I'll get those muffins out of the oven. Squirt a little lime juice on it. So here is my chicken tortilla soup. It is looking and smelling pretty delicious. Let's give it a taste. It's got great flavor. Really great flavor. And then here are the corn muffins that I made to go along with it. Now I already had the cornmeal, the flour, the salt, the sugar, the baking powder, those kinds of things on my pantry shelf. Those were staples that I did not need to purchase. However, you did see the things that I did buy. The muffins made 6, so I could have 2 muffins tonight if I chose to with my bowl of soup. The soup serves 6, so I can certainly have soup a couple of other times for either lunches or dinners, and then also have some to put in the freezer. Now, you don't see any salad or anything like that because my budget didn't extend to that. I do have some canned peaches on my pantry shelf. I could get those out if I chose to, but I just wanted you to see that other than the celery, the carrots, and the onion, the green pepper, there really wasn't any allowance for fresh veggies because fresh is expensive. So moms, one of the things that I want to share with you is that if you want to be more frugal, and that's one of the things that several of you have asked me to do, is talk to you about how you can be more frugal. You've got to learn to make some items yourself. When I shop my shelves, I've got a couple of bags of flour, just all-purpose flour, on my pantry shelf, so I can make biscuits, and I can make a couple of loaves of sandwich bread if I needed to. But if I didn't have that much, I could at least make biscuits. I also have a couple of cartons of cornmeal on my shelf, and so I can make cornbread. I can also make corn muffins. So when I was going through the store to make my purchases, I had this list out, and I had my pen out, and I would mark things off as I went along. And if I didn't see the thing that I found online, I would ask a salesperson to help me find it, because sometimes it wasn't where I thought it would be. But I was really focused on what I needed to buy, so all the other things that normally tempt me, I just bypassed because I knew I couldn't buy them. So now here's the thing that I want to bring up as well. Sometimes when we are dealing with people who have less than, and they have to use things like food stamps or borrow money to buy food, or we're looking at their carts and we're making judgments, one of the things that I myself have done it, and I know other people have done it, you're looking at their cart thinking, why are they getting that stuff? They should be buying yada, 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 so they can make yada, yada, yada. Well, one of the things that I was thinking about was that I wanted to make some chocolate chip cookies. I wanted some chocolate chips. I didn't think that was asking too much. Chocolate chips started between like $3.50 and higher, so I couldn't buy those. So now here's my question for you. What would you buy if you only had $30 to spend for groceries, and this $30 had to last you for a month? What do you already have on your pantry shelf that you can shop your shelves and augment that $30? Because I realized on the spot that I needed to have some things to jump off with. So if I was a woman who was on the run, let's say I had grabbed my children and grabbed a trash bag and threw their things in it and left the house because I was in an abusive relationship and I was given $30 to purchase food, what would I buy? It was an interesting dilemma. It really was. So what would you spend your $30 on, and what's on your shelf that you could augment? I do have flour and the makings for pancakes. Do you have baking soda and baking powder and sugar and salt and pepper and those basic necessities so that you can make some foods? Do you have cans of tomato sauce, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, those kind of things, pasta sauce, so that you can make some dishes? Because you can make a pasta dish with spaghetti. That box of spaghetti can last for several meals. You could pick up a box of noodles and make different kinds of pasta dishes if you've got the pasta sauce. But do you have those things on your pantry shelf so that you can do that? Inquiring minds want to know. So homemakers, it is important that you have items that work together so that you can make a meal out of whatever it is you lay your hands on. So check out my 20 item capsule grocery haul to learn how.